Hello again, and welcome to another episode of 1001 by 1, where each week we take a film out of the book, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, discuss it, analyze it, and ultimately decide whether or not it should be in the book. My name is Adam St. John.
And I am Joey Rogate.
And before we get to discussing the last film in an iconic filmography, a movie that involves Tom Cruise being hit on by just about everybody in existence. And we have, of course, we are talking about Eyes Wide Shut. We are going to give some recommends. You may quickly notice that one of the trifecta is not here. Britt was not feeling great earlier today. So, or maybe she just really wanted to watch the World Cup. I don't know. I mean, either way, you know.
Either way, I mean, it is in Seattle. I was actually, when I was watching the first half, I kept kind of waiting for it to pan to her.
Just like going crazy.
Just losing her shit in the stands.
Yeah.
I've been like, that's funny.
That would have been actually, I would have applauded the move,
Me too.
to be perfectly honest.
Yep. I would have loved it.
But Britt is not here. So we're going to soldier ahead, and we'll do the normal thing that we normally do. So Joey, what do you have to recommend this week?
So I wanted to recommend something where a real couple gets involved in something. And I actually, a movie that I've never recommended, but I really, really like, it is from the year, I just want to make sure, 2017, The Big Short, starring Kumail Nanjiani. He wrote it with his wife, Emily Gordon, and it was
The Big Sick.
Yep, The Big Sick from 2017, The Big Sick, not The Big Short. That's about stuff I don't care about. The Big Sick. Kumail Nanjiani and his wife, Emily Gordon, wrote it. Zoe Kazan plays his wife in it. Holly Hunter, Ray Romano's in it. It's a really good movie. I like it a lot, and it's a real couple, pulling from their real life to do it. And they're still together, unlike other couples we'll talk about later.
I really liked The Big Sick when
Me
it
too.
came out. I thought it was very charming, very sweet. I think it got an Oscar nomination for its screenplay.
Original screenplay, yeah.
Yeah. I've not revisited that movie since I saw it, but Melissa and I were really charmed by The Big Sick.
Kristen, we saw it in the theaters. Absolutely loved it. And and it's actually one that a couple times I've been like, oh, I should have recommended The Big Sick there. And I didn't. So it kind of worked out better that it's here.
Well, I think your recommendation is going to be closer than what I could do in terms of linking it to the movie, but I might be able to. Okay, so
Okay.
Obviously, part of what we're going to talk about with Eyes Wide Shut is the infamous the party in quotes at Somerset Mansion, aka the Sex Castle, but obviously there's a society at large that we are unaware about, a group that exists doing things that we don't fully understand. And so the movie that I am going to recommend also has to deal with some shady underground people, but who clearly have money and are doing nefarious things. But instead of Tom Cruise trying to find out what's going on, two complete badasses break into a world, and they try to explore and show the world what's really going on. And I am of course talking about The Furious, which is.
I need to see this. I need to see this movie.
Yes. So this is a movie from Kenji Tanigaki, and the plot is. The plot is kind of silly. We have two main guys. In one case, one of our guys, his wife is an investigative journalist trying to figure out what are a series of child kidnappings. And she gets taken, and so the husband then takes it upon himself to sort of pick up his wife's case and figure out what's going on. In a separate but related storyline, a deaf father is trying to connect with his, young daughter, probably 11 or 12, and she gets taken by this organization. And these circumstances brings these two people together, and the long and the short of it is that they kick a tremendous amount of ass to figure out what is going on. This movie was so fucking entertaining. It is, I mean, I've heard John Wick comparisons. I've heard the Raid comparisons, and those movies are just both. They're so different because both those movies are very gun forward.
Yeah,
this
there's
is
no
not.
weapons, this, right?
Yeah, it's all hands, and then whatever movie you want to think of, it's unlike anything that I've really seen because it's not totally campy and it's not totally serious. It sort of blends both really well. So The Furious, I think it's still in theaters, but if it isn't, it's got to be coming to PVOD soon.
Friday. It's coming
Yeah.
Friday.
Oh, it's
That's
great.
I have to ask. I've heard this from like 4 different podcasts. At the final fight, when they cut to the 5 guys' eyes, like the 5-way split screen, did you stand up and cheer like everyone else seems to be doing?
So I didn't stand up and cheer, but I definitely fist bumped, right?
Okay.
I didn't want to, I'm seeing the
You're not
movie
a
by
loser.
myself. Yes, exactly. But no, I was definitely like, yes. There's a moment where one of he's a villain, but he's sort of a sympathetic villain. He's not one of the big bads. Like
Okay.
he wakes up. You thought this guy was dead, and he comes to. And the way that he gets himself back involved into the fight is one of the most hilarious and ridiculous things you will see in a movie. So yeah. You got to check it out. It's great.
Can't wait. This is one that I didn't get a chance to see, but the second it comes to on demand, I'm so far in.
Yes, I love it. So two wildly different movies, The Big Sick and The Furious. I'm sure Britt would have thrown in something that was probably way more in line with what this movie is going to be.
It's a Taiwanese orgy horror film.
Yes. Yeah. Something with what's her name? A Johnny. Is it Isabella Johnny?
Oh yeah. Right?
Something with her, probably. I could see that.
Yeah.
Okay, but we are, of course, talking about the 1999 film from Stanley Kubrick. It was written by Kubrick and Frederick Raphael, based on the Arthur Schnitzler novella Traumnovelle. This movie is, of course, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman as Bill and Alice Harford, Sidney Pollack as Victor Ziegler. And then, a couple of smaller roles. Marie Richardson plays Marion in a very weird role as the daughter of a man who has passed away. I always say this guy's name wrong, so I'll do my best, but Raid Zerbegia as Mr. Milich.
That was pretty good.
I tried.
I think that was good.
And probably now more known for his 3 filmography, but Todd Field is in this as Nick Nightingale. I'm leaving a couple of people out because I could see them popping up later in some categories we talk about down the line. But any other egregious oversight, because I'm sure there's at least one person we'll talk about as the movie progresses.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So I think this has been stated before, but obviously this is a part of our overall Kubrick ranking that we're going to get to next time. Of his 13 films, 10 have been in the book, 9 currently are, and Eyes Wide Shut is the movie that was in the book, but currently is not. Unlike most of Kubrick's other films, this one does not have a lot of accolades to speak of.
At all.
It was nominated for Best Score at the Golden Globes, but also won Most Intrusive Musical Score at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. So, different people thought different things about the score of this movie. I do have a lot to say about the music that was used that wasn't originally composed, because I think it's kind of iconic. And to really root us in a time, Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise, and Sidney Pollack were all up for Favorite Actress, Actor, and Supporting Actor in a Drama or Romance at the Blockbuster Entertainment Awards. So, God bless, what a time to be alive. Joey, do you think this movie is in the National Film Registry?
I'm going to say no on this one.
That would be correct. That is a correct guess for Joey on that one. What about the IMDb Top 250?
I'm going to say no as well.
And that is also correct. But I will say in my, at this point, what has been a copious amount of reading about Stanley Kubrick that I've been doing over the last month and a half at this point. there is a recurring theme about sort of reclaiming his movies, and like most of his movies are initially misunderstood or like critically derided, but
Yes.
there tends to be a sort of circling back. So I don't want to get to first viewings yet, but I do want to ask you about that when we get through the preamble here. Apparently, Pauline Kael came out of retirement to call this movie a piece of crap, which, you know,
All right.
she had a kind of an ongoing thing with Stanley Kubrick there.
Yeah.
But Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars, and I kind of like what he gets at with, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says, Eyes Wide Shut is like an erotic daydream about chances missed and opportunities avoided. For its hero, who spends 2 nights wandering in the sexual underworld, it's all foreplay. He never actually has sex, but he dances close and holds his hand in the flame. Why does he do this? The easy answer is that his wife has made him jealous. Another possibility is that the story she tells inflames his rather torpid imagination. The film has the structure of a thriller with the possibility that conspiracies and murders have taken place. It also resembles a nightmare. A series of strange characters drift in and out of focus, puzzling the hero with unexplained details of their lives. The reconciliation at the end of the movie is the one scene that doesn't work. A film that intrigues us because of its loose end. That intrigues us because of its loose ends shouldn't try to tidy up. And then something that he says later on. He says, Kubrick's great achievement in the film is to find and hold an odd, unsettling, sometimes erotic tone for the Doctor Strange encounters. Shooting in a grainy, high-contrast style using lots of backlighting, underlighting, and strong primary colors, setting the film at Christmas to take advantage of the holiday lights, he makes it all a little garish, like an urban sideshow. Dr. Bill is not really the protagonist, but the acted upon, careening from one situation to another out of his depth. And that idea of the being acted upon thing, I think, is kind of spot on.
Yeah, I think that's great. I like how he said that because I think that's when the movie's at its best.
Yes, I agree. And you know, and something that like I've really noticed with Kubrick's films is that there's not really any confusion on when we're like, if you want to say this like a simple 3-act structure, fine. But like when we go from like this set piece to this set piece to this thing, like there's a very clear like, we're moving from one piece of the story to the next. There's no confusion as far as that goes. So he's been pretty consistent with that.
Yeah.
Hey, Joey, do you like lists?
Man, I can't wait to see what you're doing because I think this might take over. I'm hoping this takes over for my Salo list as worst list we've ever had.
Oh,
or no,
well,
my dog tooth list. Sorry.
No, so I didn't go that crazy with it. So I started looking, and I ended up picking this list because I just found it rather odd that these selection of these films were on this list as one whole list. So, Cahiers du Cinéma. This is a French film magazine that's been around basically since the advent of the French New Wave, right? I think it was André Bazin, and then all the guys, right? Godard and Truffaut. They're all big on this, and so at the beginning. So much, yes. Yeah, they're very much like the big French new wave circle jerk that's going on over there. But at the beginning of the year 2000, they did their list of the top 10 films of the 1990s, the entire decade. Oh, and I would like to read to you. Yes, I would like to read to you the 10 films that made this list. I hit this thing. That's what happened. You heard it.
You fucking drum set? Are you about to like?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna lay down a sick beat. No, okay. So here are the 10 films. Now, I will say that there were some ties. So they put 3 films at number 8, 4 films at number 4, and 3 films as a 3-way tie for number 1. So here
it's an 18
are
movie list.
No. It's 10. It's 10 movies.
Okay.
So here are the 3 films that they have coming in collectively at number 8. A Taiwanese film I've never heard of called The River. Edward Scissorhands. Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands.
I enjoy it.
I have nothing against the movie, but
no, top 10. That's crazy. Okay.
And an episode that a film that we have covered on the show, David Cronenberg's Crash, coming in at number 8.
I mean, Crash and Scissorhands do belong paired together. I don't know why, but it feels right.
Okay, so now collectively coming in at number 4. So here are 4 films for number 4. And again, the collection of this, I'm kind of bummed Britt isn't here because Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me is on this list, which we know Britt is extremely high on.
Yes.
A movie that we will be covering next season, Abbas Kiarostami's Close Up, is on this list.
Okay.
Of course, Eyes Wide Shut, the reason why I picked this list at all.
Okay.
And recent 1001 by 1 punching bag film, much to your chagrin, Unforgiven, is on this list.
Fucking great. Love it. Love it.
Okay. Now, here are the 3 films that are up for what Cahiers du Cinema believes are the best films of the 1990s, the entire decade. I have another Taiwanese film on here called Goodbye South, Goodbye. So no judgment there. I have no idea. But these other 2, I don't feel like could be more different. These are both U.S. films. I'm going to go with, Brian De Palma's Carlito's Way is on this list.
At number 1?
Yep.
Okay.
And another Clint Eastwood film, The Bridges of Madison County, which is it's almost a good pick, except for how bad the framing device is of that movie. 2 sad siblings find their mom's letters and recount her life. Why can't it just be her story? Why can't it just be Meryl Streep's story? So anyways, I feel like that is a very strange collection of movies to be considered the 10 best films of the 1990s.
It's an insane list. That's amazing. I want them to redo it now in the 26-year anniversary of their list.
But with a list that includes Crash, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, and Eyes Wide Shut, it also includes The Bridges of Madison County. That is fucking wild. Yeah. So there's that. That's the list that I brought today. There you go.
Fucking amazing. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so Eyes Wide Shut. How to explain this movie? Okay, so we meet the Harfords. It's around Christmas time, and they are invited to a fairly swanky party at Victor Ziegler's house. We find out that Dr. Bill Harford is probably is a private physician, but obviously does house calls for some of the rich and famous in New York. Alice used to work at a museum, but it went under, and they seem to be, a quote-unquote fairly typical married couple, if not doing fairly well for themselves, but not quite that 1%, which I think we'll talk about later too when we get to it. And one night after smoking a little marijuana, Nicole Kidman recounts a story from a vacation where she basically says that she would have thrown her entire life, her family, her husband away to be with a naval officer. And before they can sort of reconcile this story, Bill gets a phone call that a patient of his has died. He goes to visit him, and in a state of sort of a sort of self-loathing, traumatic state of not knowing what to do with this information, he visits his friend Nick Nightingale, he is re-encountered at the party at Ziegler's house, and is told about a gathering of sorts somewhere in the middle of Long Island, which we got to talk about at some point, witnesses some crazy sexual shenanigans. And the next day tries to sort of recount and figure out what just happened. And we'll kind of leave it there because it's sort of that exploration and the fallout of his experience that sort of is the movie. So, Joey, my first question to you is, when did you first encounter Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes Wide Shut. Well, first of all, so this is 1999. I was 15. Found out Kristen saw it in theaters. So, like, what an amazing 15-year-old theater watch. She can't remember who she saw it with, but she remembers seeing it in theater. So that's amazing. It was a Blockbuster rental. I remember watching it. I knew the mask. I didn't know anything about it. Now, 20 some odd years later, quite a different, it's changed so many ways how you watch it. But, yeah, that was a Blockbuster rental at that point. Then I probably didn't see it for a couple years, then watched it again. I watched it twice for this, probably like the fourth and fifth time I've seen it.
So I think when we were talking about The Shining, we were definitely talking about like, intro to Kubrick's, right? Like what was our first Kubrick? And I think for Britt it was The Shining. And, I was almost convinced that it was A Clockwork Orange. And then I remembered, no, it definitely was not, because it was definitely Eyes Wide Shut. This was my first Kubrick.
Too, as it was all around the same time, but this was close.
But I remember, and now at this point, this is kind of weird to phrase it this way, but my ex step cousin, what a sentence, what a thing that I just got to say. He was having a birthday party, and it was a bunch of dudes that were sleeping over at his house. We did a bunch of teenage boy shit, and then we were trying to like stay awake as late as we could, and his parents had rented Eyes Wide Shut. And all any of us knew was that this was the infamous Tom Cruise Nicole Kidman movie that had a bunch of crazy sex in it. And so we turned it on. I don't think any of us were expecting a 2.5 hour like fucking trippy movie.
Right.
And like, granted, there is a bunch of nudity in it. One real concentrated part of the movie. But you're right. Like
Lake Manhattan.
Yeah. And if you watch this movie purely for the titillation aspect of it, then it's only going to ever be one thing. But I don't think I watched it for probably another 15 years. And then when I watched it a second time, whenever that was, I remember going like, oh, I wildly misremembered this movie. And then I watched it twice for this, and there are moments that are strangely funny. And again, I think like most Kubrick movies, there's a ton to like dissect and think about, and like you can decide narratively like what you think is going on with like the Harfords and with Bill, but also just like thematically, there's a ton to sort of unpack, which I think is great. So given all of that, we've rewatched Eyes Wide Shut. We're here to talk about it. Where does your mind go first? Like, what's the first thing that you want to make sure that we talk about?
So what really stood out here is how much I love this movie when it's Tom Cruise, very confused, kind of trying to figure out the world. I'm in. And as much as I love her, when Nicole Kidman's there, I'm further out.
Oh, interesting.
I think she's good in it, but it just feels like there's so much more stuff of her shot that's lost. I think at the party, her drunk acting is bad.
I'm with you there. I don't find her as charismatic and captivating at that dinner party. I agree.
But the scene where she tells the story where she gets pissed after they smoke, she's fantastic. I mean, that's the best acting in the whole movie. It's just then there's other stuff that hooks me less. So it's weird because I'm so much with the movie there with him, but like even that scene takes me a minute to get into because of how thrown off I am by her from the past scenes.
Well, and it's funny. That's a great point. And I'm not like completely like pushed away from her in that opening at the Christmas party scene, but I do think it's odd that scene with the Hungarian guy. Like I just don't fully.
He's also bad, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him either. Which sucks because I think there's two ways to look at it, right? I mean, obviously that's there to kind of help establish that like part of what we're talking about here is marital jealousy, right? Like
Sure.
That's what it is to like when she sees Bill with the two models, like we clock that and we know that she's clocked it because it's given time on screen. I think it's interesting that we never see Bill clock that she's with that guy, although he has, because he mentions it.
He brings it up
later when they're fighting. So that idea of like, you know, like what it means to be married and to be jealous and all of those things, I think we spend probably a little too much time with Nicole Kidman and the Hungarian guy. I think that could have been
too much time.
much shorter, especially because it's very repetitive as opposed to Tom Cruise, who gets to talk to Nick. We get to see him with the models, and we get to see him basically like, the note that I took was like, man, Victor Ziegler must be pretty confident in himself to have sex with a prostitute at a very fancy Christmas party, which seems to be his house. Like that's a bold, rich white guy move to do. So
you're not doing that unless you are rich and white.
Correct. But obviously we're seeing Tom Cruise in like frustrated, problem solving, look at all these different things I have to go through, move. And poor Nicole Kidman just has to dance with this odd, tall Hungarian guy.
You know, it's 19, you know, they start filming this in 1997. Kubrick could have gotten anyone in the world to do that. And he picked Sky Dumont. I think it was a bad choice because the dialogue was repetitive. It feels like they just let him talk and kind of cut it. She wasn't good at all. He wasn't good. What he was saying wasn't interesting. So it's just hard. And then you go to Cruise having all these mini adventures, and it's great. And you're all watching him with the model. Oh, you met me, you got in my eye. And like the sand got in my eye. You gave me a handkerchief and it was clean. And then with the prostitute, like all these things are so interesting. And then you go back and she's just like, yeah, like I've never drank champagne in my whole life, and this is how I think it looks. Like it's tough.
Yeah. I agree. And you know, and this is a long movie, and you know, Kubrick, Final Cut Kubrick, you know, he put it in there. That's fine. But it's so funny that we spend so much time at that opening moment, but then we do get a montage of sorts almost immediately afterwards. Yeah, exactly. We see Cruise at work and the different kind of patients that he handles, and we see Alice with their daughter, and you know, the wrapping of the presents, getting her ready, you know, brushing teeth, all that stuff. They come together at the end of the night, right? And then that obviously leads to the smoking the pot and her revealing the story. But again, one little like narrative seed plant thing that I love is that there is a brief moment of Tom Cruise with a younger, fairly attractive woman who is topless. Yes, there is a nurse there, but we plant that early on so that Nicole Kidman can bring it up later on as if it's this question that she's always wanted to ask. Like, no, I'm not asking about what you feel. I'm asking what you think she feels. And I do think that this movie does a couple of things. And I think we mentioned this with the Apollo 11 sweater in the Shining episode, that I think Kubrick, he knows it, like, and you know, and God, I get seriously so many essays and documentaries about him, but like the ever continuing idea that Kubrick was a recluse, that he didn't he hid in his house and like wasn't aware of what was going on. He seems like he was the most informed person, and I think that, you know, picking Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman as a couple is great, but also like, if your doctor is Tom Cruise and you are a young female, like patient, not like inappropriate young, but you know what I mean? Like you, like, holy shit, my doctor is Tom Cruise. He's a fairly attractive person. And then so that's on one end, and then jumping ahead, but we'll come back. There's that moment where the like frat guys like accost him on the street, and the amount of homophobic slurs they throw his way. There was a huge period of time where people were wondering if Tom Cruise was gay.
The South Park coming out of the closet episode. That was like a whole thing.
Yeah. So I obviously Kubrick knows what he's doing, and I think this idea of playing into like persona and even just like tabloid slander.
A real couple, like,
he
has all these things like that, all, and talk, you know, and everything could be looked at you know, face value, but also in the reputation sense, right? Like, how do you think people see you when you're doing these things, or when I'm out there? Like, it's all very interesting.
I don't know like when the best place to bring this up would be, but since we're still early in the episode, just a couple things that like we have to mention. So obviously this is Kubrick's last film. The Guinness Book of World Record for longest continuous film shoot of a major studio production, 400 days. That's crazy. And
I mean, just held up. Mission Impossible 2 just gets held up indefinitely because of this.
Well, yeah, well, and that's so, and then I would say obviously Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman signing open-ended contracts. Like that is fucking crazy. And I wanted to take stock of this because, so right before they start shooting, Tom Cruise releases Mission Impossible and Jerry Maguire. So like Tom Cruise has rebooted a franchise and is Oscar nominated for his performance of Jerry Maguire. And then Nicole Kidman does To Die For, which I think really gets her out of just being the attractive supportive role, 100%. Although she also does that in Batman Forever. And then in 96, The Portrait of a Lady, which was a big Oscar period piece Jane Campion film, comes out. So it's not like these two were hurting for work, like they were doing good, critically acclaimed shit, and they commit to this. And I wonder if you mentioned, that the guy who plays fucking the Hungarian dude, right?
Guy Dumont.
That Kubrick could have gone anywhere, and yet we end up with this dude. And I totally agree, but I also wonder, like, it seems like Sidney Pollack was like committed to a long contract, despite the fact that he's only in a couple of scenes.
3 scenes.
But I do wonder if there's that, if enough people were put off by the idea of having to commit so long to a project.
Not knowing when. And I mean, you just read stories of Cruise being like, all right, we have an end date, right? We have an end date, right? And he's just like, nope.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously part of what happens at the party is that Tom Cruise recognizes Todd Field, Nick Nightingale, and they have a quick drink, and he says, hey, if you're ever around, I'm at the Sonata Cafe. I'm going to be there for a while. Oh God, I got to stop hitting this. My setup here is not what I'm used to. And so, they've had this epic fight, and I don't want to skip over the naval officer moment because I think that's a really good performance by Nicole Kidman, but it's unresolved.
Performance in there for her, yeah.
Yeah, it's unresolved, and then Tom Cruise is just out. He's out, and he has to, and now he's on this again. One thing that I'm totally stealing this, this Odyssey-like journey, right? Like that his wife is at home waiting for him to return, and he is out with all of these crazy adventures. And I'm just trying to play this as if it was me. So my wife has just made this crazy revelation that it seems like somewhat seriously considered being like, I would have thrown it all away. He gets called away. He gets called to a house to basically console the daughter of one of his patients, a person who it seems like he doesn't have that much familiarity with, despite the fact that she has confessed her ever dying love for him. And when he says, I don't think we've had a conversation not about your father, it is honestly one of the funniest things I've seen in a movie.
Moments in the movie. It's Tom Cruise is amazing at it. Like,
yes.
It's such a good line delivery because it's so like he's just so confused, and he plays that wonderfully there.
Yes. So he's had this moment as he's walking the streets. These guys accost him. His quote unquote manhood has been questioned, and then Domino, the sex worker, stumbles upon him, invites him in, and before he can really cross that threshold that you shouldn't cross, he gets a call from Nicole Kidman, and
that is a cell phone.
Yep, and it sort of ruins the mood. So, but he pays her anyway. He leaves. He's walking. He continues to think about this image in his head that he keeps seeing over and over again, and he sees the Sonata Cafe. And he goes in, catches the last part of the act, and this is when Todd Field gets a call. And he's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he writes Fidelio down on a napkin. And I wanted to bring up a character that we talked about in a previous film, but a film that we've already mentioned because of our list. Do you remember when we talked about Crash, and I talked about the guy who worked at the car dealership, who was like a little flirty with Patricia Arquette, but also when push came to shove, he was a little embarrassed that this was happening at work, and he never crossed over into their world. Now the James Spader and Deborah Kara Unger, they already seem to be sexually adventurous people, so them finding this kind of super sexual world mixed with this autoeroticism, like that's a jump that we believe because they seem really close to it anyway.
Right. They just needed to find it exists.
Yes. But it's so funny. I thought a lot about the car salesman because I feel like Bill Harford is a guy who I think is curious about this world, but never really pursued it until this moment. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
And I mean, these would have been for Britt too, but she's not here. Okay. When Bill is at the party, he's got the two models, and they're being like, don't you want to go where the rainbow?
Yeah.
If Bill isn't interrupted and told that Ziegler needs help, does anything happen with Cruise and those models?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. If Bill's phone call, or if Bill's moment with Domino isn't interrupted by that phone call, do you think he goes through with his one night stand with Domino?
I think closer, but no.
Okay, I agree. So all of these things are happening, and yet as this night continues, he still seems so interested in pursuing whatever this thing is. This sounds like this sexual pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, what is out there?
But he's never ready to commit to it. He just wants to find it, to kind of be invited to it, not necessarily engage with it. Like Domino asked him to go to the house, okay, but then when it gets there, he's not going to then pull the trigger.
Well, and I think if you watch his behavior and you look at him and you hear what he says, like he's talking about like, oh, it's cozy, and her responses are like, yeah, sure it is. Like, this place is a dump. There's a bathtub in the kitchen. Like, she knows this is not a classy place. And I think that if like Tom Cruise, and I'm such a pro at this, I'm going to use.
His tie was still all the way up to his neck.
Oh yeah, and if he was somebody who did this on the regular, they would have just gone straight to the bedroom and did what they need to do. But he's talking about prices.
Sally the next day.
Yes. Yeah. What do you recommend? Like it just all sounds like he doesn't know what he's doing.
It's just like at the party. It's a world that's far away from him. I guess you would like the password now. It's the same exact thing. He just doesn't have the password for Domino.
Correct. So let's keep this to like pre Tom Cruise getting to the mansion.
Okay.
Just in case we skip over anything. Is there a moment or a scene or whatever that I've skipped over that you want to make sure gets some due? And obviously we come back to it, but
honestly, I love Nick Nightingale, but the rental stuff is insane. And
yes.
That's pretty much why I watched this movie a second time, because I still can't wrap my head around kind of why this guy let him in, why there's underage future prostitution. It's just unhinged, and it leans into like the dreaminess of everything. But when you're in it at night, it's just crazy. And I don't know. It's a very odd detour as a means to an end.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'm sure Britt read the book, which I did not, but by all accounts, in my On Kubrick book that I have been going through quite diligently, they recount what happens in the original Schnitzler novella, and it seems like pretty close. Like it seems like the really big change is that the Ziegler character doesn't exist, and so they add that to the movie to kind of help Cruise like propel through it.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's see. On the heels of these troubling confessions, apparently the guy's name is Fredolin. I might be saying that wrong. Fredolin is called away to meet with the family of a patient who has just died. For the rest of the evening, he wanders the city, encountering sexual opportunities that he either rejects or is unable to seize. He hears a bizarre declaration of love from the dead patient's daughter. That's also in the movie. He is approached by a 17-year-old prostitute. We don't know her age, but happens in the movie. Right. He has a chance meeting with an old acquaintance who tells a fantastic story about playing piano blindfolded for a masked orgy, also in the movie. Yeah. He makes a hasty visit to a costume shop where the proprietor acts as a pimp for his underage daughter, which is also in the movie. Yeah, so it's not even like Kubrick is adding this in. It's all in the Schnitzler novella, which I think is really interesting. So obviously that question runs deeper than just Kubrick, but I think like you bring up a really interesting point where it's like, so the Harford character is being confronted with these things that, you know, is he going to personally, like, is he going to engage in sex with Domino? Yes. But when he sees it with Milich's daughter, that's something else entirely. I do want to ask you, and I don't have an answer to this, but I'm just going to, what do you think she whispers to him?
I don't know. Is it something like come back later? I don't know. I've gone through like everything of just like just nothing, just talking, just to like come back late. I don't know. He's nuts, or he knows, like he's in on this.
Yeah, her look to him afterwards doesn't make it seem to me like it was a negative thing. And whether or not it's like come back later or everything's fine, I think there is a sense of like of play. Yes, yeah. So I think all of that is very crazy, very interesting. And then so obviously we get to the party, we get to the place now. One thing I read, and then because I watched this movie because I bought the 4K whenever that came out a while ago, the Criterion. Yeah. So I watched it at home, probably back in like early May, and then I just rewatched it again, whatever it was, a couple days ago, and doing the research in between, reading about the chanting being done backwards, it's really interesting. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the way that when you play something backwards, there's almost like a sound hiccup, like it's not quite right. Right. You can hear it in the playback, and I think it's really interesting that it's clearly not people chanting in real time, that it is being played backwards. And I think it's wild to think like, is it just the piano that's diegetic to the world, or is it also the chanting? And is everybody hearing that? And then to throw one more thing out there, because I feel like I've just been rambling. Okay, what is it with this? Why the pomp and circumstance? This is what I want to know.
Exclusive club. Make it feel like it's a bigger deal. Make everything feel like a bigger deal, because I'm sure you're paying an absurd amount of money to be part of it. So
I mean, yeah,
make it big, make it exclusive, make it feel. If you're going to be committing rich guy crimes together, at least let's wear fun masks and have incense for some reason.
Well, it's interesting because Bill enters, and there's the circle, there's the red cloak, all the masks, the big stick, and and each time when he pounds it, they rise, they take off their cloak, they approach somebody, and there's a ritual.
My question is how they all know the steps and what they're supposed to do.
Correct, but I think for me, the moment where it goes a little more like off the deep end in a fun way is when they bring Cruise back in, right? Where they're like, your cab driver, like a word, and he walks in, and they're all just looking at him. Yeah. And I'll pause 1 sec on that thought. But he comes in, and he's like, the cloak's like, remove your clothes, take off your mask, and then the one lady yells, stop! I will redeem him, and they're like, are you sure you know what that means? And all of this is happening. And then later on, when Cruise has the scene with Sidney Pollack at the end, he rather bluntly just goes, nothing happened that wouldn't have happened. She got her brains fucked out. Like, that's what he says, right? And so it's like we have all of this ritual and this music and these movements that clearly have been done before, but at the end of the day, it's people having sex. So it just seems like it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff for that.
And it's not like there's anonymity, right? Because they all know exactly who's who very quickly. So it's more for the, it's all for the self to keep anonymous. Like, you're doing the things you shouldn't be doing, so wear a mask and hide it, and that makes it okay.
Which is wild, though, too, because Ziegler does say, if I told you who these people were, I'm not going to tell you. But if I did, I don't think you'd sleep so well. So it's not totally anonymous, but enough. Exactly. And that does bring back this idea of money, wealth, and power, because, we hear that Tom Cruise has a place on Central Park West. He has a private practice. Like, Tom Cruise is seemingly doing pretty well for himself.
But he's still not allowed in that club.
Correct. And again, another great storytelling device is they're there at the Christmas party, and Nicole Kidman goes, do you know anybody here? He's like, no. And that's wild, because given what we've seen, it almost feels like he should be in that world, and he's not, which I think is a cool little narrative touch.
And, I love the fact that he took a cab, right? Like, he could have rented a limo that night, but he didn't.
He could have, yeah.
He could easily, but he's not at that point where you take limos where you need to go. You got it. We see him in a cab 5 or 6 different times in the movie.
Well, and he also, something I think is really interesting too, is that so the next day, it's like he can't really focus, and it's like he's trying to tie up the loose ends in a way, like cover up any kind of a paper trail, which I think is a really interesting decision, that Milich tears up the rental thing. He doesn't just say, oh, you're good, you're paid for. He tears it up, almost as if Milich is like,
tearing this up.
Because I think Milich also was like, that never happened. Right. Not just for you, but for me also. It never happened. The strange Asian men and my daughter, never happened.
Nothing happened.
Not a big deal.
We're all cool. Everybody's going to shut their mouths here.
Yes. Okay. I got another question for you.
Okay.
I actually think it might be my last one that I have, that I intentionally wrote down. It's 2 questions. Who do you think the 2 masked people are that acknowledge Cruise's entrance when he first enters the party? Because there's the 2 that look,
right,
but there's the one specifically that nods, and that later at the party sends the other girl his way.
Has to be Ziegler, right? No, Ziegler's too powerful. Is Ziegler too high up in it?
I wonder if it could be. Part of me wonders if it wasn't, and because I've been clearly just getting this wrong. Sky Dumont, but if it wasn't the Hungarian, if he wasn't the one. Now, I have no idea, and I can only account for one of the people. Now that guy is taller, and the Hungarian guy was taller. Now Sidney Pollack is also tall too, so it could be that one as well. But it almost seems like the Hungarian would intentionally send a woman his way to fuck with him. It seems like the kind of thing he might do. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, and it would make sense that there's reason to believe that the Hungarian would be there and a part of this world.
I agree, because who are the people at this party? They don't know. That guy has the air of upper crust 1% to him.
Like, he's all about exclusivity. Like, that's, Yeah. He doesn't really tell you, but it's just money. He's just pouring out money.
Now, my last question is, do you think that the masked woman was Mandy?
No.
Okay, good, because I agree. I don't think it was either.
No, I don't think it's her. I think that really worked out for Ziggy.
Yes. And I think that we are meant to believe that. We are meant to believe that Bill thinks that's the case.
Right.
But the two things that really make it not feel that way is obviously the voice is different. And yes, we can talk about the I don't know if this
Kate
counts as an
Blanchett.
unsung hero, but Kate Blanchett's voice being used for the Masked Woman. But if Mandy, the first time we meet her, has done whatever he calls it, a speedball at Ziegler's party,
which is heroin and cocaine.
Yeah, and she is high beyond recognition. I don't think there's any way that she clearly remembers Bill. On top of which, Bill is masked. Yeah, exactly. He's masked.
She's not reading the eyes through, where someone like the Hungarian, he's probably reading your eyes, because that's probably how he makes his move, like a fucking snake.
Well, and I think there's a great opportunity, a great chance that, like, I mean, clearly there's a security camera at the gate. There's probably a security camera at the front door. Cruise doesn't put the mask on until he first enters the house.
He goes in the house like a dumbass.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to ask some of those questions because I think it's a movie that asks a bunch of questions.
Well, and then my other thing is Ziegler clearly has invite power, right? Like, he gets Nightingale his job.
Sure.
If Mandy overdoses the night before his Christmas party, he's not going to bring her into this party where things could go wrong so easily.
Yeah, I mean, but she was there though, right? She was at the party. He says she got her brains fucked out.
So he says.
Well, true. I guess
I don't know how reliable he is.
That's and that's a fair point. But there's something about his performance in that scene where I go, I think he's being brutally honest in that scene. But of course, yeah, I have no idea. Okay, so it's the next day. Now, for our audience who maybe isn't totally familiar with New York, and specifically Long Island, can you maybe give us an idea? Because the one sign that we really see is Glen Cove.
Yeah, so it's the North Shore of Long Island. It's Nassau County.
Okay.
And, I think it was exit 39 on the LIE, which is like Searingtown Road. So that's the north part is where you get up there, you get into all the rich areas where it's all tiny roads with no dark. Maybe that late at night, maybe you're, I've taken, my wife's from Glen Cove, the normal people part. We've taken cabs from Manhattan to Glen Cove, probably like 40 minutes.
Okay.
No traffic, like 35, 40 minutes.
Well,
But
and it
this
is
now
late. Yeah.
And this is late, and this is probably a little before Glen Cove, so but you're up there. You're up in, it's called the Gold Coast. It's
okay. All right.
It's exclusive
So
up there.
I would say a believable location for something like this.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Now, maybe not like a Manhattanite, but as a New Yorker, how do you feel about the recreation of this New York?
It's very clearly not New York.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like the most not New York. Early on, when the guy dies, there's like one shot that they clearly did in New York with like the cabs and the chaos, and I'm like, oh, there it is, and then it gets into like him walking in front of the British green screen rolling as he's like fake walking.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a New York movie, but it's obviously not New York, right? Like Wren Street doesn't exist.
Yes. Well, and I that's what I was thinking too, is like how much, like what is Kubrick trying to say, or not trying to say, but like by making it like it's not New York, but like adding to like the unfamiliar nature of something that should feel familiar, I think is kind of a really interesting idea.
And I like it because it adds to just you're never really sure. You're never situated, like Cruise is never situated, so it leaves you a little bit uncomfortable. It's back rooms, right? That's where my head went. It feels like someone saw something and tried to draw it, and it like the copy's a little off, right? Like in the back rooms, it almost felt like that. And it's very clearly very purposeful, right? Like the T intersection, that's just that a lot happens, right? It feels like a Sesame Street-esque thing. It's just like this tight, clear thing. When here's the prostitute, and here's the coffee place that's raised for some reason. Here's where he gets the newspaper at just the right time, and here's it's all right there, but it's all real and it's New York, but it's just sort of not. And then then they're on the LIE going to Glen Cove.
Yeah. Yep. As you do. Okay. So I'm going to ask this question now, and we can because I think it'll. If it's not your answer, that's fine. But I wanted to ask who's your unsung hero?
Todd Fields.
Okay.
I love him in this movie. That he talks in two scenes, and then he's being taken as Cruise is going to the room to be judged. You see Fields being taken away.
Yeah,
I love him in this. I think he's really good in as like the inefficient guide to Cruise's journey. Like I really love what he does.
And it's. It's so funny because we don't hear a lot about their backstory. Obviously, all we really know is that they were at med school together, but that he never became a doctor. And now he's this traveling pianist playing in whatever band he can find with 4 kids back in Seattle. And but he runs into Cruise. I wonder if he tried hard enough not to get Cruise to go, and if the letting him go was almost like, I just wonder what their past was, and if there was a little bit of like, this guy became a doctor and he's maybe having the life I'm not having. So maybe this is
wrote down Fidelio and just left it there. He was encouraging Cruise to go. There was no.
But that's what I mean. Like planting enough seeds to like.
You wouldn't believe what I've seen.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
That's why I love him so much. He's just a terrible guide. He doesn't fully know, but he knows enough that it's not going to go well.
Yeah. So one person who we haven't mentioned, and I wasn't sure if you're going to go this way, and this is not my unsung hero, but it's Alan Cumming as the hotel clerk.
So good. I love him. He was in the running for me. Just Todd Fields. I fucking love him.
But the one scene that he has, it's so memorable, and it's so funny. And again, I think the idea of repetition came up in a lot of stuff that I read, and not just repetition in the dialogue. And it's funny. The book that I have, it pulls out a couple of references, and I'm sure it happens way more than this, but at one point, so these are just a series of back and forths that happen in the dialogue. So conversation with Bill and Alice. Bill goes, "What did he want?" Alice goes, "What did he want? Oh, what did he want?" Between Domino and Bill, "Come inside with me." "Come inside with you?" Millich and Bill, "He moved to Chicago." "He moved to Chicago?" Sorry about that. Sally and Bill, "HIV positive." "HIV positive?" Ziegler and Bill, "I had you followed." "You had me followed." And there's more. There's a list of these. Sure. And there is an acting tech. There's a guy called Sanford Meisner who is linked to like Elia Kazan and all of these guys who came over and worked with the Moscow Art Theater. But Meisner's whole thing was repetition, and like that if you were going to really be in the moment and kind of do like an open improv with a scene, that the best way to stay in the improv is to use repetition, because through repetition you can find the next thing. And so it feels like a very
beat type thing.
Well, it gives you a beat, but also like, let's say we were having a conversation and I said, you're never going to believe you're not going to believe what I saw.
I'm never going to believe it.
You are not going to believe what I saw. And then you might say it again, like questionably, like, dude, I can't even tell you. You can't tell me. I can't tell you. You better tell me. You want to know? I want to know. You really want to know? And like, and what's great is that it's easy for an actor to remember, to go like, just find a variation on the repetition. And yet in 1 minute, have we learned anything new? No, but they're really fighting to find that information. But also the repetition of Bill's journey. Like, so, obviously he has to go back to Millich. Obviously he has to go back to Domino. He tries to call the daughter, but gets the fiance.
Carl. And
Alan Cumming is the repetition of the frat guys, but instead of being accosted, he's being hit on. And this kind of mirror, this funhouse mirror, and obviously he goes back to the mansion and he gets the letter. And so it was really interesting to see those changes, those repetitions as we go through. But I wanted to call out Alan Cumming because it's just he knew he had one scene, and he just fucking went for it.
Yeah, he hit it.
Well, Bill.
His energy was perfect. And Bill had no idea. Bill was just, like many of the scenes, playing from behind.
Yes, exactly. So the other, I had a tricky time with Unsung Hero, and I was gonna go Alan Cumming, and then when I watched the movie again, I think the Unsung Hero. Where did I write this down? Okay, my Unsung Hero is the second movement of Gheorghi Ligeti's Musica Ricercata, which is the repetitive piano music that we hear in the movie.
Yes.
Which I believe we don't hear for the first time until Bill gets called back into the room.
That's when it first starts, yes.
And when that music comes on, it is so fucking effective. And I understand it possibly being annoying to people, like it's repetitive. I think
it works so well.
I agree. I think it works every time
well.
It comes on, I think it's used effectively. And I don't know music that well, so my terminology might be off here. But then at the end, when he gets home and he sees the mask on the bed, we hear like the minor chords version of it. Holy shit!
Which is really creepy, and and it times out perfectly with his breakdown. Like it's so because I don't love that scene, but the music and Cruise sell it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I feel like I've been hitting a lot of my points, which is great. Anything that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure we hit?
Yeah. So I want to do my Lock Martin.
Okay.
Because because when this thing initially happens, I always think that there's going to be a payoff, and then there's not. So because of that, and it's Domino having HIV and finding out that morning. When I saw it, because again, I watched it twice this time, and it's been a while since I've seen it. So I was like, oh, she was the one at the party. Like somehow, they tripped up time. And then it's just never a thing again. And I'm just like, what? They couldn't, that girl couldn't come back from whatever WPIX at 11, Pix 11 show that she was on at this time. Like they couldn't get her to London for a weekend. Like, so they just were like, HIV this morning. Like, it's just, I don't get it. I hate it.
Well, part of me wonders if the HIV C plot, D plot, whatever you want to call it, the HIV thing, him calling the daughter and getting the fiance, and there's another one, and I'm blanking on it. I guess going back to that, going back to the mansion and getting the letter, that
or the costume shop when he realizes what's actually going on there.
Well, that one flies in the face a little bit of what I was going to say, but this idea of who gets second chances, and I think that not everybody, and I know that you can't plan fate, luck can't be constructed, but there are people who seemingly can screw up or fuck up and get another go. Oh, it was just a mistake, right? A one night thing, temporary bad choice, and all of these close calls, I think it's, Cruise as Bill Harford is a good-looking, fairly affluent doctor who, in a real way, should be punished for this, quote-unquote night of debauchery that he's having. And yet, everything that's happening, he has been given all of these second, third, fourth chances for this day, which I think is interesting. But yeah, so the HIV thing, you're right. It is totally unexplained. It never comes back. But I think that's one of those oof, you were a bad boy. It was almost really bad.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know. I assume this is true because this is a very a fancy book. Do you know how they came up with the last name Harford?
No.
So apparently, the Harford last name was created from the first and last name of Harrison Ford, a thoroughly middle American star. So they they've just combined it to get Harford. I really, man, this our listeners are going to be so annoyed when they hear me continuously hitting my mic stand. Okay, but yes, the HIV thing is definitely not explained or not really followed up.
Yeah, it just feels like they were like, oh, would get a reaction. I don't know. I don't. Your explanation, I think, does make sense, but I just don't like it.
How do you feel about, I guess, the idea that is Bill dreaming the entire thing? Did you read this?
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I think there's pieces that are like dreamlike, but I think it's just because Bill's so far out of his comfort zone. I think it's happening. I
agree. I don't think he's dreaming. So I didn't do my Lock Martin Award. So I kind of struggled with this. So Bill and his wife, they live in Central Park West. They go to this very fancy party, private practice, all of this stuff. It's really hard for me to believe that not only Bill Harford, but Tom Cruise is drinking Budweiser and watching football. I just don't buy it. They could be doing anything else, right? Play Scrabble. I just don't buy it. Maybe it's wine and a crossword puzzle. I don't know. But casual Cruise with a Budweiser watching football. I don't buy it.
I'm in on that, especially 1999 Tom Cruise. Yeah, 100%. That's perfect. That's really good with his giant slippers.
Yeah. Oh God, those were big. Those were big slippers. Yeah. Come on, that guy in those slippers is not drinking Budweiser and watching football. There's no way. Okay. Favorite scene, favorite shot.
I mean, the party scene's the best scene in the movie. It's long, but that's the best part of the movie. So much happens, but it feels like such a cheat. So I'm going to say when he's with Nick in the nightclub.
Okay, all right. I like that. That's a good scene. It's the whole idea of digitally adding bodies to hide the nudity. I understand rating system and all that stuff. And then when the international uncut version and you watch it, it's it's really not that bad. And It's actually really funny to look at it now and look at some of the, I'm just going to be honest, to look at some of the sexual positions and go, they have masks on. Nothing's even happening. They're just writhing around. Yes, there are people who are having sex, but there's also just a lot of weird staged people moving around. Nothing's happening. So I might need your help because I don't know if I want to pick either the Ziegler Cruise conversation towards the end or the first Millich scene, which is just so wild.
I mean, I think I prefer the Ziegler, put everything together that maybe Cruise is, what he's chasing, and then trying to figure out what's real from that.
I love that even after the 36 hours that he has had, he still is pretending he's Ziegler, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, and it's just and Ziegler's come on, I was there, And it's the way that he says I was there is kind of the reason why I believe everything he says for the rest of the scene, because he's just so dude, I saw it, man.
Right. I've had you followed. Yes.
Oh God, that's so that music is used so effective when he is being followed too. It's great. What about favorite shot? I definitely struggled with this one.
I don't know. Cruise looking angry in a cab or Cruise looking angry in a cab. I don't know. I don't know that there's any real shots that stand out to me.
I thought of two, but it's not really the shot so much as it is the cut.
Okay.
So I love Cruise coming back and cracking open, he basically opens a beer and then we hard cut to the mask on the pillow and the music kicks back. And I really like that. But I think I think the one that I actually like more, because I really like the needle drop, is post party when she goes, "I'm married." They hard cut to "Baby did a bad, bad thing." Kidman's looking at herself in the mirror. Cruise walks in, and they start, maybe they're being intimate together. But the way that she is looking at herself, being, fondled over by Bill, there are so many questions raised about Alice that I like that we don't answer. Right? There's a moment. It's before Cruise goes back out, and she's doing math with her daughter, and like she's got this thing where like her glasses are down and her hair is messily up, and she's got like the finger by her mouth, and she like gives him a look that is both like inviting and encouraging, but also like, I would fuck the shit out of you right now if she wasn't here. And it's both things, and it's like, oh, you're a lot of things happening right now, and I don't know, and it's great. She's phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, that is a good shot, and that's because that meme always pops up. that is just a shot of her.
Okay, so scene, shot, Lock Martin. We don't always remember to ask this one, but would you rather watch Eyes Wide Shut or The Treasure of the Sierra Madre?
Oh, Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, okay, me too. Anything else? God, I really think I touched on most of the stuff that I.
Yeah, no, I'm not really thinking anything else that was pressing. I think I got everything out.
Okay, so this movie was in the book, but is not anymore. So, Joey, do you think that Eyes Wide Shut should be in the book?
As much as I like it, I don't.
Oh, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it's one of the top 10 of the 90s. I think it's got a lot, but and it definitely has, some iconic, The Mask, everybody knows what The Mask is. And
yeah.
I think it's very good. I've pretty much been very positive about it, but must see, I don't know, especially when, with all the other Kubricks. If we were doing this in a vacuum, I wonder if my answer would be different, but with seeing them all together and ranking them as I've been doing, I'm going to say no.
So I'm going to say yes. And the Kubrick ranking thing is interesting because I'm trying to find, and I don't know if I have it yet, but, Kubrick had 13 feature films, 9 actively in the book. This was in the book. So that's a ton. I think the number is somewhere between 6 and 8 of like the movies of his that actually should be in the book. And I don't know what it is. I don't fully have my order, but I do think this is one of them. And I'm pretty sure I said Crash shouldn't be in the book. And there are movies that are similar that I just think this has so much more to read into. I think it's like film history stuff is pretty cool too. And then as far as taking something out, I was looking, because Kubrick is a director who has a ton of movies in the book. There are also a lot of other directors who have a ton of movies in the book. And I went to a director who is, I think, well-beloved and well-respected, and a director who has made movies that I absolutely adore. And I picked one that I haven't seen and that I think is pretty fairly maligned. And so I am saying we should take out Frank Capra's The Bitter Tea of General Yen, which I believe has some white people playing Asian characters in it. And Frank Capra, listen, he's got It's a Wonderful Life. He's got It Happened One Night. He's got Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He's doing fine. And I think we can take out the one that has some, fairly questionable casting decisions. So I've never seen it. Maybe it's a wonderful film, but on those merits and the fact that I like this movie, I'm going to say that it should. But we have one no, one yes. And I'm sure we'll hear Britt's verdict when we get to our next episode, which is going to be the giant Kubrick ranking. Ooh. All 13 films. We're going to go through it. It's who knows how long that episode is going to be.
It's going to be long.
I will probably literally be drinking coffee that night just to make sure that we are going strong. But yeah, so that was Eyes Wide Shut. You can find us in all the places where you listen to podcasts. We are on all the socials. And we're going to wrap up this big Kubrick thing next time. But until then, I am Adam.
And I continue to be Joey.
And we will see you for the definitive Stanley Kubrick ranking.